Hello everyone. I hope you had enjoyed my summary of previous movies, and I really hope everyone is doing well in this time of quarantine or self-isolation. Surprisingly, the movie which I'm gonna discuss today is a post-apocalyptic sci-fi movie and is kinda similar to what we are, having right now. So yeah, today I'm going to talk about I Am Legend, the alternate ending one. There are two versions, one is the normal one and one is the alternate ending one, which I highly doubt what you guys have seen. Well, this movie is directed by Francis Lawrence, the same guy who directed Constantine, which was a major hit. So talking about this movie, it focuses on Lieutenant Colonel Robert Nivelle, played by Will Smith, which is a doctor fighting a virus that has seemingly wiped out all of the human race except him. That's what he thinks. A virus was created using the measles in order to cure cancer. And yeah, one more thing. There are two versions of the story, and I will be focusing on the alternate ending, which is much more positive than the original ending. Yeah, you heard it right. Now, without giving you all any more heads up, let's roll down the summary. 3 years after successful human trials were conducted, we see that New York City is being reclaimed by nature, with grass growing through the streets, herds of deer, and lions roaming free. Well, this particular scene is very touchy. We see how it feels when nature takes back the control. There are also virus-infected humans lurking, and we call them dark seekers. They cannot come out during the day because the sun burns them to death if exposed for too long. But in the night, they ravage the city and they kill anything that moves and eats them up as well. Well, we have Robert methodically makes his way through his days with his companion Sam, his female German Shepherd. He has complete immunity to the virus, and Sam is immune to the airborne virus but can still be infected if bitten. Robert's routine consists of working out, hunting for food. He goes to the DVD store where he watches movies in alphabetical order, and he has set up mannequins as customers and employees whom he is given names and with whom he speaks.
Hey! Morning, Marge. Morning, Fred. You guys doing here so early?
He clears buildings for supplies, and at midday, when the sun is highest in the sky, he is always at the South Street Seaport waiting for any survivors to show up who have heard his radio message broadcast on all AM frequencies. That is, he can provide food, shelter, and protection. You know that feeling of please somebody say something, or God, am I the only one stuck here? Yeah, that's the feeling I'm talking about. It haunts you.
Is out there. I can provide food. I can provide shelter. I can provide security.
Most importantly, Robert continues to conduct experiments on infected animals. We see rats in his laboratory, as well as infected humans, all of which have died in his experiments. But his most recent serum had proven to be effective in one rat, returning it to a lower state of aggression, and proper pigmentation has returned. The infected hosts have an increasing body temperature of 106 degrees Fahrenheit. Their skin lose pigment. They have an increased heart rate. They then only roam during the night and live in darkness. Their aggression is off the charts, and they are able to sniff out human flesh. We learn that New York City was ground zero for the virus, and the military quarantined the city by bombing the bridges, leaving behind the infected. Robert's wife and daughter have been killed while aboard a helicopter escaping the city. A mid-air collision with another helicopter spinning out of control claimed their lives. And he has dedicated his life to finding the cure. He is indeed devastated and has finally a goal to live for. While hunting in the streets of New York City, Sam, the dog, chases a deer into a dark building. This is something scary here. You're going into the unknown and hoping you will come back alive. Robert goes after her and encounters a group of infected humans, Darkseekers, who look very scary. They both narrowly escape the building, and since it's day, the infected cannot chase them down into the light. Robert set a trap to catch an infected human in order to conduct his experiment with his new serum that has shown promising results. He catches a young female, maybe 18 to 20 years old, and after knocking her unconscious, an infected male runs to the doorway between the darkness and light, screaming in rage. We can see that there is a connection between him and the female Robert has captured. Robert actually sees it and pays no heed towards it. I think he should have thought about it once, just saying. Robert is able to get her back to the laboratory safely, and his initial injection of the serum causes her to flatline. He injects her one more time and she comes back to life. He secures her in a glass cell to keep watch over her. Once daylight returns, Robert returns to the street to discover one of his mannequins from the DV store has moved many blocks away from where the store was located. He begins to lose control and not knowing whether the mannequin is real or not, he just shoots it. We see that his extreme isolation has taken its toll on his psyche. When he goes to check the mannequin, a similar snake trap that he set to capture the infected female earlier has set in the puddle where the mannequin is, and he is strung up by one leg. Robert hits his head on the pavement on his way up and is knocked out for hours. He wakes up to his watch alarm warning that the sun is setting, and Sam is barking, seemingly trying her best to wake him up. He is able to cut himself down with his tactical knife, but when he hits the ground, the knife punctures his right thigh and he can only crawl back to his SUV. As the sun continues to set, we see the infected male from earlier with the 3 infected dogs. He releases them, but they have to wait for the sun to go behind the buildings in order to attack Robert and Sam. Once it does, they sprint for them and Sam pounces on one as Robert makes it to the SUV. Pulling a pistol from the driver's side door, he is able to kill the dog. A third dog attacks him and Sam continues to struggle with the other. By the end of the attack, all infected dogs are dead. Robert is okay, but Sam has been severely bitten and cannot walk. Well, this scene is so intense, honestly. Robert takes her back to his lab and injects her with serum in hope that it will stop her from turning. He cradles her in his arms and waits. Her eyes and gum lines begin to change and she becomes violent towards him, trying to take bites out of his flesh. He has to do the unthinkable, and he kills her with his bare hands. This loss is monumental for Robert, and he goes back, this time at night, to Seaport with the death wish, trying to kill as many of the infected as possible. But they overrun him, topple his SUV, and just as they are about to make a meal out of him, bright lights appear from nowhere and they simulate sunlight burning off the infected. Robert is able to tell his unseen rescuers where his home is. They get him there and he passes out. In the morning, we discover that Anna and a young boy named Ethan have rescued him. They are on their way to Vermont to a survivors' colony. They heard Robert's message on the AM radio on the same day Sam was killed and waited there for him all day. They want Robert to come with them, but he will not go. He is dedicated to curing this virus in New York, which is ground zero. This is the promise he made to his wife and daughter. Actually, a very powerful scene, shows so much commitment and zeal.
Everybody's dead. Everybody is dead.
Robert also cannot believe that there are anyone else that is alive, or that there is a survivors' colony. And when he asks how she knows it's there, she just tells him God told her. She tells him, if you will listen in the silence, God will speak. It's how she knows there is a survivors' colony and the reason why she turned the radio on and found him. This sets him off and he proclaims that there is no God who would do this to people.
You gotta go.
Well, he goes back to the laboratory in the basement to work, and when nightfall comes, the house is under attack. The infected had followed them back to his home when he was passed out the night before, and they are there to kill them and get the female back that he is running experiments on. Robert sets off all the explosives he has rigged outside his home, killing a large amount of them. But the onslaught continues, and they get into the house. Robert is able to fight off enough of them and get himself, Anna and Ethan to the basement where they secure themselves in the same glass cell as the infected female. Sees that the female is getting better. She looks human again. As he's seeing this, the infected male has come to get the female back and is slamming so hard onto the glass that is cracking. Over and over, he violently slams his body into the glass. As this is happening, the film goes silent as Robert is having a flashback of his daughter on the car ride to the helicopter before her death. She says, "Look, Daddy, a butterfly." The Dark Seekers are behaving differently. The alpha wants the girl back. He just looks at her, and Robert, in a hiss of moment, realizes what he should do to save it all. He just gives his best. He opens the glass door and keeps Anna and Ethan safe behind the door, and the alpha dog seeker gets the female back, and the female dog seeker is behaving normally. Robert can see the emotions, and he understands that might be evolving. Yes, they might be evolving. Robert is very scared and hopes they survive this wrath. Well, they do in the end. As soon as they get the female dog seeker back, they just leave. Robert is in shock and despair, and finally takes a sigh of relief. We find Robert, Anna and Ethan driving in the daylight. They are safe, absolutely safe. They're traveling down the road hoping to find a destination, although Anna is clear with the things that they are going the right way. The film ends with all three of them driving away from the city on the once used to be a beautiful bridge. It goes on and on. Well, I think that's it. Hope you all liked it. Do let me know which other movies you want me to cover in this time of isolation and quarantine, because I think that this is the best thing to do these days. Just look back on the old movies and give you guys a summary and what I think about it. Well, feedback in the comments please, and don't forget to subscribe the channel, and for more updates please click the bell button so you will receive the notifications from our end. See you in the next video.